Hello. I don't know which episode we're starting, what we're doing. We're just doing it.
Yeah. Welcome then. Hello, my love.
Hi.
My dear, my darling. What a time. Hi there.
Hi. I don't remember our intro.
I do. Do you want to know? Do you want to hear it?
Sure.
I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Elene.
And this is Bet You Wish This Was an Art podcast.
Welcome.
See? You've already got it. We're back, baby.
Back, baby.
Hi, everyone. We've missed you.
Hello. Finally, see our faces. A face reveal.
A face reveal. Oh, Elene, it's so good to see you.
You too.
It feels like only yesterday I was just there, and this is nonsense. Take me back.
It's been a year.
Well,
since our last episode. A little less. Well, when did we stop? It's been 2 years? Has it been 2 years?
No, Elena, don't say that.
What is time?
Oh. No,
It's been 2 years.
Oh, that makes me sad on so many levels. Well, we have good reason, to be fair. Life has been really chaotic. We had a terrible loss. And you know, it's hard to create in uncertain times.
That's true.
So, but
who's to say that it's certain now? But
you and I have been reunited, and it feels so good.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, all of those beautiful photos that are on the Instagram by the time this episode comes out, at least, should be worth reminiscing over.
Yeah.
We're on YouTube now, I guess.
Yeah. A big update.
You know? We're not in the same country yet, but that could change soon.
That could change.
That could change soon. That would be nice. Lindsey still makes our art.
She does. She does.
So, yeah.
So, what should we start with?
Elene, it's been so long. I think it is in our best interest to hit home with a classic. We should have a reintroduction episode, a history of, and what's a sweeter spot for both of us than Baroque art?
But Baroque, but not just Baroque, Italian Baroque.
Of course, naturally. We'll get to the Dutch eventually.
We will. And the Spanish and the rest. That's it's quite a global. We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. I think this is our sweet spot. I think this is exactly where we need to be, and I think it's time that we learn a little bit about Italian Baroque art.
That's true. We should. So, shall we just jump into it?
Let's go.
So, let's start with the definition of the word first. Mm-hmm. The word is derived from a Portuguese word, barroco, which is basically barroco. Yes, and it's basically an imperfect pearl. And this is kind of an extension of what Baroque was thought of at the time, which was like this weird, imperfect, like, this weird thing. And first it was thought of as an extension of the Renaissance. But later on, when the word became a thing, which was, of course, later on, that's how it goes with art styles, then it became kind of like looking down, because it's perverted version of Renaissance, kind of. That's what they thought. That's what they thought. That's not my words.
I can understand this transition from Renaissance to Baroque. It makes perfect sense when you're thinking about like, oh, we have this very Christian art medium. Like the thematics of our work are Christianity and religion, and we have patrons that are sponsoring these artists to do it. But as the style develops, and I think really when you start moving into like the distinction between Northern Baroque and Southern Baroque, especially, is when you start to see the influences of, spoiler alert, the Counter-Reformation.
Yep, basically. Yeah. But yeah, it all started with the Reformation.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yes, we got a little spoiler there. But it started with Martin Luther with his 95 theses. He nailed them on the wall of the church.
For art history, especially European art history, it sets this tone for questioning the church, which is bonkers. And then even more so just what it develops and of course the political and religious revolutions that spur from it with the Protestant Reformation, because you get the destruction of icons, you get the transformation of churches and cathedrals, you get this movement towards austerity, which we still feel to this day. Yeah.
Yeah. And to be fair, the criticisms that he made were valid. The church was corrupt.
Yeah. You can pay your sin away. A pay-to-play church capacity. I get it. I understand. Listen, he's not wrong, but at what cost?
But yeah, I mean, we don't vibe with the destruction of art here. I think you know this.
We're pretty pro art, unfortunately.
We are, yeah, sadly. But this is not an art podcast, so. Anyways. Yeah.
But if you're criticizing the church for greed, if you're looking at how the institution is corrupt, if you as an institution are paying so much for art and architecture, you're throwing lavish parties, you're pardoning people's sins with a little coupon that says, no, you're good, fam. It's hard to, it's a really tough criticism against something that is considered a religious institution, but also like a political institution. Mm-hmm. So it's a legitimate criticism. You then get you have Martin Luther, who was one of many, but kind of the guy who establishes this pivot, because his 95 treatises or his 95 theses are like so impactful that the church, to its credit, did try really hard.
They tried.
They tried, in the way where you're like, no, honey, I promise. I can change. I'll be good. And then it goes right back to gambling and lying and spending all of your money.
Exploiting people.
As a treat. So at the very least, awful, but with good intentions. And of course, the more people are upset and the more people are frustrated with the status quo, the bigger the shift is going to be. And since this is something that kind of impacts where do you go when you die, which is a very valid fear that a lot of people have. So once the church decided they were no longer canceled, they were grossly mistaken. And, we start the whole Protestant Reformation, we have the wars, we have atrocities against man, art, and culture.
Yeah, it was quite heavy. I mean, there was a 30-year war, and there was, everyone was neck and neck going at each other. A lot of blood, a lot of destruction, like you said. Yeah. And I mean, at first they did try to kind of make it seem like they have been doing better. And in some ways they improved what they were doing. Yeah. But also, a bit later on, they kind of doubled down on some things that were the criticism of Martin Luther and the Protestants. So Protestants are super against iconoclasm and or is that the right word?
Yes.
Yeah, worshiping. I'm not sure. Iconoclasm is the destruction of
icons, but icons,
Protestants were very against using icons in their church and worshiping icons. So they destroyed it. They committed iconoclasm.
There we go.
There we go. That was correct.
Yeah. That makes sense. It's all coming back to me now.
Yes. And so they were against it, and the Catholics doubled down on, yes, we're going to use icons. Icons are the way to represent God and saints. And we're going to fund even more art and creation of buildings, architecture, everything icon, so that people get it through their heads that icons are the shit, basically.
Or this is this is the grandioseness of the divine, right? This is, sure, we can go back to just painting our walls white and taking down all the cool art, and we can read the Bible, or big art, big vaulted ceilings, Latin. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of this is still the divide to this day. And it's part of the reason why a very valid criticism of Catholicism is that it feels kind of the pageantry is so over the top. There's so much ritual and magic behind it that it almost feels performative. Mm-hmm. But if you think Mass today feels performative, let's go back to Italy. Do you know what I mean? Let's figure out what the church did to not only uncancel itself, but to double down and to really push into this propaganda campaign that has defined it for so long now. The Counter-Reformation, as mentioned, is really the propaganda arm of the visual aspects of Catholicism.
Yeah.
And I mean, it works.
It does work. And it did get people back into the church.
Sure.
And some of the things they employed, so Baroque style in itself is very dramatic and over the top and flamboyant. They like a lot of movement, a lot of deep emotion, and that you can see that everywhere. You can see that in frescoes, in visual arts, in architecture as well. Everything is always in motion. That's how it seems. And that in itself drew people to the church and kind of made them it was meant to overcome the person who comes into the church. The person that enters is overcome by all of this grandiose, overcome by this huge ceilings, by these amazing frescoes, by these very how do you say feeling invoking architecture and art. So through that, they are trying to talk to the audience, because a lot of the people during this time were illiterate.
Sure.
So you can't really get through to them by books or by long speeches. So a way to go around that, or to maybe add to that, is to engage the visual sense, basically.
It's that
and
cliche.
They did that.
I mean, it's that cliche of pictures worth 1,000 words, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But if every moment from when you enter the like from even before you enter the building, there's this moment of crossing into a threshold where you cross into the divine, because all of a sudden you're in this marble church and the walls are so beautifully detailed and decorated and everything feels like it's moving. And so now you feel compelled to move through this space. And when you look up, you see this signature oval shaped dome, which is indicative of that movement, that elongation, because it's in continuous motion. And now all of a sudden you feel inspired because there's something otherworldly about the space that you're in, or at least, especially for a population that has never seen anything like this.
Yeah, exactly.
It is remarkable. This is the Marvel Cinematic Universe of the 16th century. and to a degree, it's characters you recognize, it's a history you know, but in this over the top and exciting way. And how are you supposed to question the church if the church is now providing you something this beautiful? And it does build off of the naturalism that had kind of been established during the Renaissance, right? So our boy Da Vinci, our boy Raphael, all these guys had been creating foundations of this is how we expect to see a person. But Baroque then takes it and moves it into this level of motion. You add life to the art. And that is something that even to this day is really exciting to be around. But it is a lot.
It's a lot. It is a lot. To talk about, let's pick for now painting specifically.
Yeah. We could talk about architecture forever, but I think the painting is really where you see Baroque at its height.
Yeah. Yeah. So you see, this time is a lot of primary colors, a lot of movement, like we said, and also a play on light.
Yeah.
So we've done an episode on Caravaggio before.
We've done a few.
You should definitely go listen to that. But basically, Caravaggio was someone who brought tenebrism into the mix of art, which is basically, tenebrism is a play on light and darkness. And it's where, basically in a painting, there's only one small source of light and the background is in darkness. This is a type of chiaroscuro, but, so it's like chiaroscuro is the umbrella term, and tenebrism is like, one of the elements. Basically, it's a little bit darker, but it is indeed like the play on light. So in Caravaggio's scenes, you see a lot of paintings lit by just one candle, or has only one source of light, and it shines on mostly the bodies and the hands of the people, of the characters.
The creatures.
I was going to say characters, but I couldn't remember that word. Creatures too, actually. Horses.
I mean, that too.
He has those too.
What is man if not a creature,
Yeah, exactly. We're all creatures.
I really find it, that is also one of the most exciting aspects of Baroque is you are now having artists who are pushing themselves to create that sense of drama and dynamic lighting. And it's something that, I mean, it's almost as impressive as perspective was, right? This is something that artists were kind of trying to figure out, but hadn't necessarily nailed it. But now we're not only working with perspective, but now we're working with lighting. And if anyone has tried to incorporate light sources in photos or in paintings or even in sketches, and you're just kind of staring at it going, where is my light coming from? Imagine it's one candle, and now you have to figure out how to convey the warmth of this light, how it plays with cool shadows, because dark shadows are always cooler than your light source. And now you're playing with values and hues and how do you capture the softness? Caravaggio, our boy, does a fantastic job with this. Of course, we've done the episode on Artemisia. And Artemisia Gentileschi is one of those incredible artists when it comes to drama. Judith and Holofernes being the most famous example of this, but it's so compelling when talking about here is one light and here is the full scene, and these paintings usually are massive, if not life-size in some cases.
Yeah, indeed, they're huge. And they didn't stop at just huge paintings.
Shocking.
Frescoes were a big thing in the Baroque. And one of the types of frescoes...
Italians love a fresco.
They do love a fresco. And so do I, so I can't fault them. But what they did master was quadratura, which is basically an optical illusion type of frescoes, which were painted usually on the ceiling of a church or a regular building, sometimes a house, like a residence of someone. And they basically were like regular, like angels and saints, but three-dimensional. So when you walk in, it just looks as if the ceiling is not there. And it looks as if it goes on into the sky or into another like building that is painted on the ceiling. So it just makes it even longer. And that is a thing that is seen a lot during this time.
Yeah, on that rounded, on that oval ceiling, you get this doorway to heaven.
Basically.
Yeah.
And you can see that a lot in Palazzo Barberini, which basically has this fresco of, it's called Allegory of Divine Providence and Barberini Power. Mm-hmm. And in the name itself, allegory is the way you pronounce that. Allegory is basically something that is seen also a lot in Baroque. We use other like regular people to basically symbolize saints, continents, parts of the world, I don't know, flowers, everything, anything. Allegory is very important also at this time.
Yeah.
And,
it offers a retelling of something that you already know, or it kind of gives a persona to a concept. The Muses are a great example, right? The seven deadly sins are a great example. Mm-hmm. Usually there's a perceived idea behind like, who are these supposed to mean? For all of my Italia fans out there, if you still exist, the concept of personifying a nation and having that person take on the characteristics of this nation kind of define the allegory. This isn't Italy because this is not a country, but this is Italy because this is who they are representing, sort of thing.
Basically, yeah. And yeah, these frescoes are, everywhere in Baroque, most places in Baroque architecture. Yeah. And some of those examples are, for example, the Church of the Jesu, which is basically a mother church for the Jesuits. And there you can see kind of this painted ceiling, and the painting itself is bleeding out into the architecture. So it feels even more like it's coming down or it's going up in this instance, because it's people and angels going up into the heaven, and it's marvelous.
Which you also see at the St. Ignatius Church, the Andrea Pozzo piece, because it's that same concept of, you have allegory, right? The four continents on the four corners of the ceiling, and that perspective of watching the saint ascend into heaven, where he is greeted by the representation of Mary and Jesus, and it's this reaffirmation that our saint, the saint that we were basing our power around, the church's authority around, has been accepted by the mother and the child. So it's also like credibility. And again, going back to that word of propaganda, of just saying like, this is so cool, guys. If he's accepted by the church, maybe this is a cool church to check out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But architecture has always been a great way to convey authority. I've had a art history professor once describe monumental art kind of as cheating, because by its very nature, you are going to be overwhelmed with the scale of the piece. And I think there's something to be said about the scale of these churches or these houses. Anything that really captures the architecture of it also benefits from having this really dramatic art inside of it, and then having this really dramatic ritual inside of it. It all builds to kind of convey to people, hey, maybe don't join the Protestants. Maybe we're okay, guys. Don't you want to watch another episode of Keeping Up with the Church? We're messy, but in a sexy way.
Keeping Up with the Catholics.
That's good, actually. But it's true. I think it's so human. It's so predictable. It's so fascinating because of the fact that it's something that we see time and time again. We want to be inspired. We want to be seduced. We want to be given a show. But if the message isn't authentic, people will realize that and so quickly abandon this movement. And that's part of why the Reformation and Counter-Reformation went on for so long, because of the fact that you're in constant dialogue and in constant competition with these opposing philosophies. And how is that supposed to by the very nature of this conflict, you are shaking the foundation of what Europe, especially, had understood the church to be for so long.
Yeah.
What happened to the wars, guys? What happens to the Crusades? I thought we understood what our purpose was. Awful.
Yeah. Yeah. If you hear a cat in the background, I'm sorry, but she's being loud.
I think we could. So Baroque is not an art movement. It's a lifestyle, right? It's you see it in all aspects. You have it in the clothing that was being worn, the sculpture. You have it in architectural features as well as architecture itself. Painting is a fantastic legacy of it. And we cover a lot of it in the Caravaggio episode when it comes to what specific artists were doing at the time. But there's always room to talk more about people like Bernini, who is kind of the guy, TM, of Baroque architectural features and sculptures.
Yeah.
And we could do a whole episode on him alone. Or even St. Peter's Basilica could get a whole episode.
It could. It's
but
magnificent.
But I really think the concept of Baroque being a state of mind, right? That the global movement as well as Italy at this time is so much more than just the features of one flourish or one gold leaf print on a fluted column. You know what I mean? There's so much to Baroque when it comes to the intensity behind it, the depth of it, the realism without it being with the intention not being realism, but more so romanticism. Divinity? I don't know.
Yeah. To romanticize the divinity, basically.
Yeah. My telenovela.
Exactly. Exactly. And this is the time also to keep in mind colonialism is going on, conquering new lands, going and seeing new things, bringing back a lot of things, stealing them.
Stealing them.
We know. And also exposing everyone else to what they're doing. So this kind of cross-cultural thing is going on, mostly against the will of the other cultures. But it's bad, basically. But
colonialism, bad.
It's bad. We said it first, baby.
BYWAP seal of approval.
Yeah. And so it's also quite a global phenomenon, Baroque. Some say that it's the first global art style that can be seen in other places as well. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of unethical, but it is everywhere.
But it is everywhere.
It is everywhere. And yeah, I mean, again, we can talk forever about Bernini, and we can talk about Borromini, and we can talk about all of the amazing things.
And
we can talk Florence.
We will.
I mean, just talk about Florence.
Oh my God. Florence alone is just going to get its own series.
It should.
I mean, it's its own art history topic. If you were to take an art history course on Florence, you could fill an entire semester. You could dedicate an entire thesis to Florence, Italian Baroque Florence. The Florentines loved this. And I think this is also what is so interesting about Italian Baroque, right? Mm-hmm. We'll eventually talk about Northern Baroque, the Dutch, Flanders Baroque, that whole region, because their motivations are a little bit more driven by the second most Catholic nation at the time, the Spanish.
Mm.
But
this is also the time when they got free of the Spanish.
But what about the Spanish, though? Which, is it's its own thing. And in fact, that's history is so tasty. But specifically about Italian Baroque art, you must remember the Vatican is right there.
Yep.
The Vatican. You have the Pope right there. You have the seat of church power right there. So it makes sense that where you're going to see the biggest pushback is in the seat of power, right? Because if for some reason if the Reformation had taken root in, say, Florence, what's the Vatican going to do against an army that's right outside its door?
Yeah.
You know, it's something that, of course, you're going to have the strongest intensity of pushback closest to where it would be most impactful and harmful if it were to get out of hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's interesting.
It is interesting. And yeah.
Do you have any thoughts?
Baroque is pretty. I mean, it's problematic as fuck. It's pretty as fuck. So I choose to like it. I personally.
Elena, this is what gets us canceled. We just came back and all of a sudden you're over here.
Yes, I'm being very controversial. But you cannot separate the art period from the art piece.
Agreed.
But you can still appreciate its beauty. And I think that a lot of what is being built now, I'm talking specifically architecture, a lot of what is being built now is quite devoid of anything characteristic. While what was built there, maybe it was too much. It was too much. Just dial it down a little bit. But if we incorporated it a little bit into now, I think it would make everything better.
What's the evolution? It's Baroque to Rococo, Rococo to Neoclassical, Neoclassical to modern? No, Neoclassical to Art Nouveau?
Yes.
Art Nouveau to Art Deco, Art Deco to modern.
Modern, yes.
Well, all on this on a really compressed timeline.
Yeah.
But if you're studying for an exam right now, that's what you need to know.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
We as humans have pendulums of preferences, and so we go through phases in which we really like austerity and phases where we really like drama. And right now, I think architecturally, we're still in an austere phase, but TikTok is telling me that we are slowly but surely moving back to that maximalism, baby. Baroque is right around the corner, Elene. Just you wait. We'll get our pearls. We'll get our pearls.
I want that imperfect pearl. But, yeah. Baroque.
Baroque, baby. If it ain't Baroque, don't fix it.
I will not respond to that. I'm sorry, but that's despicable. How dare you?
4 imperfect pearls. Updates, newsletters, transcripts, blog posts, and more. Head on over to our website at bywrpod.com.
You can also follow us on Instagram at bywrpod.
And on Twitter, Twitter, at bywrpod.
And you can also, I don't remember the ending.
Email us at bywrpod.
And you can also email us at bywrpod@gmail.com.
And of course, you can check us out on Patreon. Our Patreon is the best way to support us if you like the work that we're doing here at BYWAP.
Come say hi.
Wash your hands.
Don't touch your face.
Elene.
I was just touching my face. I'm sorry.
And remember,
when in doubt,
titty out. All right. Bye.
Bye.